Hey guys, it's John Moore here with the Texas College Football Show. I've been looking at getting the game of the week out this week. We've already got the week 5 countdown and predictions coming into week 5. It's been an unbelievable week, but I wanted to do something a little different today. Mike Gundy was fired today, and so I wanted to put something out on the Mike Gundy. And look, you're going, John, this is Texas college football. Why in the world would Mike Gundy have any effect on Texas college football when he's in Oklahoma? And here in Texas, we don't do anything with Oklahoma. We hate OU. We hate Oklahoma State. The only reason Texas doesn't fall off into the ocean is because OU sucks. That's the big joke or whatever it is. But there is something that I want to call the Gundy effect. And the Gundy effect is what could happen now that he's been fired and the candidates to do it. Let's look at Gundy first. First of all, he's out. He's been in Oklahoma State from 2005 to 2025. I think this was his 21st season coming into this season. He's 170-90 overall. He won a Big 12 championship in 2011. He also is 12-6 in bowl games. He makes about $6.75 million this year. If anyone doesn't know, he took actually a pay cut. I think he took about a few $100,000 pay cut from what he was making last year. That was part of the deal of him coming back. He was almost fired after last year, but came back when he lost to Tulsa this last week. It really kind of spelled the end for Mike Gundy and what was going to happen on that one. But now there's a Mike Gundy effect. Now everybody's already putting out coaching candidates. And who's up for this job? I've seen 10 different names that do it. And there is a tie into Texas college football. You guys know there is a tie in Texas college football. But there's scenarios beyond somebody getting that head coaching job that could affect Texas college football at the FBS level, especially the schools that we all cover. First, let's look at the guys that are actually being mentioned as possible for the job. Now, let me say this. These are in no particular order. There are 4 names right now in the FBS Division One football that are listed as possible candidates for the Oklahoma State job. 4 of them. I didn't put them in any particular order. It's not that this guy is number 1 because he's more likely than this guy. It had nothing to do. It's who came to me in what order. Number 1, let's go to Jeff Traylor. Jeff Traylor's at UTSA. He's been there from 2020 until the present. His salary right now is $2.8 million. His buyout is $4 million. He's 48-22 record overall as head coach at UTSA. He's 2-2 in 2025, but those 2 losses, one of them's to Texas A&M. He had a loss to Texas A&M. The other one's to Texas State, a big rival that he ended up losing to. They've struggled a little bit. They had a win this week, but I don't think anyone takes into question what Jeff Traylor has done at UTSA. He signed a big extension a few years back. He signed through the end of next year, I believe, and his buyout would be $4 million if he was to take that job. That's the first name that has been, not the first one that's been popped up, but he's one of the 4 names that have been popped up for this job that they've kind of been talking about. Who's the second name? G.J. Kinney at Texas State. Speaking of Texas State, we were just talking about them. They beat UTSA. He's been there from 2023 till the present. He's got a $2 million salary. His buyout, they don't really have anything. I looked up trying to find his buyout. There's not really one. He's got a 31-13 record overall. Now, remember, he was at the University of Incarnate Word, where he was a head coach there for a little bit too before taking this one. He's 3-1 this year in 2025. But that's a name really being bannered about. If you remember, when he came out of college, high school, his when he first came out of high school as a player, as a quarterback, he went to Texas, transferred to Tulsa, where he was really good at Tulsa and played there. And then he went up and played some pro ball, played all kinds of pro ball, played as a couple practice squads. I think he played in Canada. He played on some arena leagues, but he got into the coaching game and worked his way up. And he's making $2 million a year now. He is another name, a big name that is being mentioned for that. Who's the third name that people are talking about? Well, this is a guy that was on my hot seat at the beginning of the year that I thought was Eric Morris at North Texas. He's 2023. He's been there at another, by the way, university in Incarnate Word. He came from the Incarnate Word, and he's making 1.35 million right now. His buyout also isn't listed, so it's probably not that big of a deal. I think that you look at Texas State, UTSA, and you look at UTSA put a little more money into it, but you look at Texas State, you look at North Texas. These are two schools that you go there and have success, and it's kind of a stepping stone to a bigger job. And that's what could possibly happen there with him. So North Texas kind of knows that if he does well, he's probably not long for that job anyway, because they're not going to have the resources to offer what a big Power 5 school could offer Eric Morris or Jeff Traylor or GJ Kinney if those jobs open. This is a power conference school. The Big 12 is considered power conference. So Eric Morris is obviously another name that could go up there, but Eric Morris, there's something else that could happen that could affect him too. But let's go to that fourth name that's being bantered about right now from the Texas FBS schools. The Texas FBS school. And that's Colin Klein, the A&M offensive coordinator. He makes about $1.6 million right now as the offensive coordinator. Of course, he was at Kansas State before that. He was a quarterback at Kansas State. And last year he struggled a little bit as an offensive coordinator, but it wasn't really his fault. He had some inconsistent quarterback play. He really was trying to integrate his offense. It seems to be working now. A&M is looking good on offense. Marcel Reed has got a grasp on his offense. This is a guy that has been thought of that might go back to Kansas State when that job finally opens up again. If something happens there, they thought he might go back there. But he's from the Big 12. He tore Oklahoma State up a lot when he played at Kansas State. This is a guy right here that might be for that. But he might be somebody that looks at this Oklahoma State job who obviously would pay him more than he's making now, that obviously would pay him more than Texas A&M would be willing to pay him as an offensive coordinator to stay. There's no doubt that if he was to get a job at Oklahoma State as a head coach, his salary is going to be somewhere in the $3 to $5 million range. Nobody's going to pay an offensive coordinator $3 to $5 million. Could A&M do it? Sure. They've got the money to do it. Texas has the money to do it. Alabama probably doesn't have the money to do that. But that's why I'm saying that if that he might really consider this job. It would be about the money and taking over a program. He's got it good, and that's a big step for someone like him from this job. That's why you go you leave Kansas State as an offensive coordinator and you go to the SEC to make your name there to try to do something like that. But here's the thing. It's not just these four guys that could be affected in a job like that. This could have a ripple effect. Let's look at the ripple effects that could possibly happen of somebody getting this job. Now, there's other names that are mentioned, okay? Let's do scenario one, Colin Klein. Let's say Colin Klein takes the job at Oklahoma State and leaves there. What ripple effect could that one have? Well, look at Eric Morris down at North Texas. One thing about Eric Morris, no doubt right now, is that he knows how to call an offense. His offensive, we're good at Incarnate Word. He's had great offense this year. They're 4-0 right now. Last year, the offense wasn't the problem. It was the defense. He went out and hired a new defensive coordinator from Texas State, and they really got better this year, and they're playing well. And right now, there are some teams kind of talking outside shot of North Texas getting in that playoff because of the schedule they have left that's coming into this. Eric Morris makes $1.35 million a year. $1.35 million a year. If you go back up where we were looking up there, $1.35 million. He obviously, A&M can pay him and give him a raise. Now, look, he's set to probably get a $300,000 or $400,000 raise with bonuses and stuff like that. But A&M could pay him if he was really something that they looked at. And yes, he could stay at North Texas and be in control of where he's at. But let's be honest, if you're wanting to go up from North Texas into a big Power 5 job, where do you do that? Well, it's obviously go to the SEC, be an offensive coordinator and have success. Go to A&M and be a successful, that leads to a bigger job right there. He also goes into effect with something else. I'm saying Eric Morris, and you're saying, well, what about Traylor? Or what about GJ Kinney, who's an offensive coordinator? GJ Kinney makes $2 million a year. He is not going to leave Texas State for an offensive coordinator job in the SEC and take a pay cut. He's staying where he's at because he's got a long tenured contract. He doesn't have a big buyout. And his next step from there is to go to someplace like a Big 12 school, go up to a Big 12 school, have success there, and then work his way over. His path isn't through maybe taking an offensive coordinator job somewhere else to rekindle his name and put his name up there. He doesn't need to. He's already kind of a hot commodity doing that. But there is another coach that has been mentioned for the Oklahoma State job that could also affect Eric Morris. Let's look at that one. What about Ben Arbuckle? Ben Arbuckle from OU has been listed as somebody that might look into this job. Now, he just came in from Washington State, where he's the offensive coordinator there. He's got his quarterback in John Mateer at OU. But, hey, he wants to be a head coach. I think he's 28, 29 years old. He would be young to take that job. But let's say he does. He makes I think he makes right now $1.5 million a year as the offensive coordinator for OU. He takes the job. He's probably going to make $3 to $5 million as a head coach going to Oklahoma State. There's Eric Morris again. OU is another school that has some money. They're not rich like Texas and Texas A&M, but they're paying their offensive coordinators $1.5 million. Yes, that would be about what maybe Morris would make if he was to get a raise after this year with success. But you go to OU, and again, you have success as an offensive coordinator at OU. And this is not the Seth Luttrell thing. And OU fans are going, whoa. Well, they're not watching this because they're OU. They don't listen to Texas college football, and they don't care about that. But OU had a very unfortunate – they put Seth Luttrell from North Texas, went up there to become the offensive coordinator. He never really called the plays at North Texas. Eric Morris does call the plays, and he's had success at it. That's just a job right there. But there's also something called ripple effect number 3. There's different things that could happen, and I want y'all to understand – where this could go in a ripple effect in another scenario. Let's look at this one right here, because this could be wild. G.J. Kinney. Let's say G.J. Kinney gets the job at Oklahoma State. Well, what ripple effect could that have? Well, that opens up the Texas State job. Well, who would be a candidate for the Texas State job? Well, right now, Mac Leftwich is the offensive coordinator at Texas Tech. He was the offensive coordinator at Texas State the last 2 years. Because of his success there, he got promoted and gets $1 million a year to be the Texas Tech offensive coordinator. He's having success there. Texas Tech is really good. But I tell you what, G.J. Kinney makes $2 million a year. Texas Tech is not going to pay him $2 million a year to be the offensive coordinator. His success is built on what he's got. He's been at Texas State. He liked Texas State. He could go back to Texas State and be the head coach and take that program over. Well, there we go. Now we have an offensive coordinator position open at Texas Tech. Well, who is somebody that could take that over? Well, look at Scotty Walden over at UTEP. Makes about $800,000 a year. He's a head coach at UTEP. The offenses look good since he's taken over. He just doesn't have the athletes there. He's not going to really that's a stepping stone job for him. But a big deal for him would be to go from $800,000 a year to about $1 million a year to take over the offense. He had success running the offense at Austin Peay, where he was the head coach for a couple of years. That's how he parlayed that into the job that he got at UTEP, where he got a big raise because Austin Peay was FCS school, and they weren't going to pay him, the amount of money he got as a head coach there. Scotty Walden is a name that a lot of people like. He's very young. He's energetic. Look what he did against Texas. And yes, I know Arch Manning played like total you-know-what against UTEP. But it doesn't matter. They still had to do something to energize that team to be in it. And they scored a couple points there. They scored 10 points on Texas against that defense, which is maybe the best defense in the country. We've talked about that a lot. So that is a huge, huge deal. And that might be something that could happen there. So let's say that G.J. Kinney takes the job at Oklahoma State. Then Mac Leftwich takes the job at Texas State. Well, then maybe Scotty Walden takes the job at Texas Tech as an offensive coordinator. Now UTEP's looking for a new coach. Well, where do they go? I don't know. There are some coaches at the FCS level. In Texas, it could affect. Tarleton State's doing really good this year. What about Witten there? But he's been there a while. I think that's where he wants to stay at. Look at the guy. What's his name? Calbert over at Stephen F. Austin. Won a national championship at Texas A&M Commerce. He's having success now. Stephen F. Austin. He's a defensive-minded coach. right there. Come in at UTEP with kind of a defensive-minded coach. He gets promoted up, and then all of a sudden Stephen F. Austin's looking for a new coach. I mean, there's so many ways this can go, and there's a ripple effect when jobs open up. These are guys whose names are going to be mentioned no matter what. What I'm saying is the scenario, which I thought might be, you know what, there could be some coaches sitting a little bit on a hot seat that might lose their job this year. Some of these guys also can change jobs by getting a better job than they have right now. So for Mike Gundy and leaving, hey, look, Mike Gundy, thanks for the memories, Mike. I'm a man. Now I'm 58 years old. He's out of a job, but if you're hiring, I'm just saying, hey, let me tell you what. Mike Gundy probably he never fully embraced the NIL. He admitted it. He said he couldn't get around, he couldn't wrap his head around paying these guys to play when he'd go to the transfer portal. He wasn't paying them. He was just trying to get talent to get them in there. He turned his roster over huge. He now admits that he knows he needed to do that and change the scenario and do that. Let me put this wild, weird one out there. Let's say Jeff Traylor or let's say G.J. Kinney get the job at Oklahoma State. Would Mike Gundy consider going back to like Texas State, who could pay him at least a couple $1 million a year? UTSA, who could pay him $3 million a year? He's not going to make the $6.75 million he makes right now. Probably doesn't want to go anywhere after 20 years and be an offensive coordinator again. Going into a school like Texas State where NIL isn't going to be a huge player, let's be honest, because they're not going to have the funds and resources. What you do is you go get talent and bring them over that isn't getting NIL from anywhere else, and he's coaching the way he used to. Mike Gundy was a successful coach at the Big 12. He won the Big 12 one year. He took them to 18 bowl games, and he was 12-6 in those bowl games. Would he consider it? Is he ready to hang it up? He's 58. Does he never want to coach again? Or is that bug just going to be there? Maybe he's going to go into the TV booth. I don't know. Maybe he's going to hang around Oklahoma State and get a statue and hang there. I don't know. Maybe he goes down to one of these schools at the FBS level down in Texas. It's just south of where he's born and raised, where he was a quarterback at Oklahoma State. He was the head coach for 20 years at Oklahoma State. And maybe he just drives about 4 or 5, 6 hours south and comes down here, keeps his home in Oklahoma, gets himself a nice big condo, and comes down to San Antonio or to, San Angelo or what am I? I'm going blank. I'm sorry, guys. Anyway, comes down to Texas State and takes it over. I mean, and comes over and does it. I mean, this could be something to think about. The Mike Gundy effect is the first of many that are going to happen. There are other jobs that are going to open, and this whole coaching carousel could change in the state of Texas at the FBS level because a lot of these guys could take these jobs and go somewhere else, especially the 4 names that we've mentioned who would be hot commodities if they keep up the success they're having to do that.